how much of this were you involved with, Ruby? No, the better question. How much of this did you orchestrate? Oh my gosh, dude. Sister Ruby is doing some naughty things and Aqua is finally done with it. He's like, okay, I've been sniffing something for a while now. What did you do? What did you do? I mean, it seemed pretty obvious. He's been pretty sus for her for a while. And now suddenly she seems like she's in center stage. Like all that stuff unfolded, some really controversial stuff unfolded, and she's right in the dead center of all of it. And I'm not sure if Aqua knows that Ruby was the one that pulled Maya back into it, but yeah, all signs seem to be pointing that she was involved somehow. And yeah, I think after rewatching a little bit, especially at the very beginning of this episode, I really got like little details and hints that, yeah, I think she knew this was coming. Now, as to how much of this she could have orchestrated, I'm not really sure. I think there was probably a sense that she knew something could be, a problem could be caused, and she could offer a solution. But what actually happens in detail is the big question mark there. Because yes, if you look at the very beginning of the episode, when they first introduce everybody to each other, Minami's being Maya and everything, specifically Maya, goes towards them saying, oh yeah, TV broadcast, they do this kind of stuff. Now, yes, she just got done probably having to pull another overnighter trying to fix the costume. She's already mad at them. But it gave a sense there, gave a feeling there that Maya has had trouble with TV broadcast before, and Ruby herself specifically was the one that invited Maya. Now, I don't remember Maya ever being in the show before now. I don't see her in sort of any of the credits, so I'm thinking this is the first time we've actually seen her. But it implies that Ruby has done work with Maya before, and my assumption is that she's seen at some point that Maya doesn't like TV broadcast, that she doesn't like the, it as a conglomerate, it as a group of people because of something that happens in the past. And so she probably brought Maya on with the idea that something bad is going to happen and it's going to cause problems and she's going to have the solution. Yeah, it definitely does have a lot of crystal ball action here that Ruby's doing to know that exactly what's going to happen, but it could be centered around the idea that she knew that Maya likes Tokyo Blade, and yeah, she does do adult stuff, but she knows that these people are going to do something questionable. But the sucky thing is that Ruby knew, out of all of them, Ruby knew that it was about adult content, and I don't think Maya knew. I want to say that Maya was never informed that this was going to be involving adult questions. And again, Ruby brought her on and probably secondhand didn't give her enough information there. And it's pretty blatantly obvious that once she got there, Maya wasn't expecting that. Even though she does the adult stuff, I don't think that she was 100% expecting that. I mean, she probably knew these guys are dirtbags. They're probably going to do something crappy like that. But it being hit on her like that was out of nowhere. And I think, again, sort of what she gets into later on does express that idea that, I'm fine with talking about this stuff personally. And I think I would have given a little bit of, leeway if I thought that you guys were being respectful. But they weren't being respectful. From the get-go, you guys proved to me that you brought me here for this reason, and you don't even respect it. And that started everything nasty. And from then on, I'm not going to have that respect. I'm not going to show that same respect to you. There's so much dig in this episode. It's so good. But yeah, Ruby orchestrating stuff, and I'm interested to see if anything's going to come out of this. I really do hope it actually digs into at least something, but I hope that in the next episode it opens up. It's not just Aqua going, what exactly did you do? And Ruby goes, I didn't do anything, and then cut the next scene. Or literally the next episode opens up and it's like 2 days later and nothing got resolved from that. And we don't even know what the conversation was. They like to do that a lot. But anyways, let's jump in the episode proper. I got a lot to dig into because there's a lot of juicy stuff in this episode. As much as I think that Uda Shibata is an absolute dirtbag, the director's a dirtbag, there was some good juicy stuff there. Again, as always, Akasaka is so good at just digging into this industry, showing the nasty sides of it, just airing out all that dirty laundry the industry itself has, and doing it in a way that's believable. This Ushibata guy is a dirtbag, he's scumbag, but he's also somebody you can kind of understand why he does what he does. And that's the cool stuff there I love. But anyways, open up the episode, we open up with, again, all the cosplayers meeting each other, Minami, Ruby, Mimi, and Maya. Again, I think this is the first time we've ever met Maya. I don't see her in any sort of the credits from the previous seasons, but apparently Ruby brought her on board. Oh, you do cosplay? Let me see what you have. Yeah, you probably don't want to look at that stuff up. I do a lot of R18 stuff. Minors shouldn't be looking at that stuff. I got a kick out of it. But again, right here emphasizing that immediately, Maya doesn't like TV broadcast. Yeah, she says like, oh yeah, you guys are used to it because you work in the industry, but yeah, not me so much. So it was a good little kind of nod again there to what we kind of run into later on. But yeah, eventually the director shows up. Like Mimi's like, is that the director? I could just tell from he's just by his face alone, he's creepy. I'm uncomfortable just by his face. He's got one of those director faces that's creepy. But yeah, immediately Uchibara notices Maya and goes over there and starts already piling on some naughty looks, dirty looks that's not really making her comfortable. But then they get the interview, as expected, asking her a bunch of inappropriate stuff. Again, to the point later on, Uchibara talks about the idea that we're supposed to be like pushing the boundaries and whatnot. That's perfectly fine if Maya knows that's what you're doing. This whole interview is perfectly fine if they're both consenting to it. But dropping a camera in front of her and then immediately saying, do you sleep with your photographers? Do you have sex in your cosplay? That stuff out of the blue is not appropriate. He should have had that agreement there. Can we ask you some things that are personal, that are more adult? And she says yes or no. That's the problem that I think he really has. He just wanting to jump in there and throw that on her and force her. That's the whole point here. Let's be perfectly honest. He knows he can't get that approval. May is not going to approve that. He doesn't have the time to sit there and deal with that kind of stuff. He's just going, okay, where's the next shoot? Okay, risky stuff. Let's ask questions. And let's drop it on her, and hopefully that forces her to have to answer it. And even if she doesn't answer it, we still get the clip of her being uncomfortable in front of the camera. That's the sad issue with this. That's the inappropriate and annoying thing about this whole situation. But anyways, following this, it sucks because everybody's like happy about it. And you again, Ruby. Ruby's all being like, oh, it was such a great shoot and everything. She knows damn well that Maya didn't have a good time. We're really making Ruby's character into a nasty, nasty individual that hopefully corrects very soon. Or at least she sees that she's done some wrong things and that kind of gets corrected at some point. But yeah, we see that Maya's not too happy about the whole situation. Goes and makes a really, really scathing post on social media. Gets traction quick. She must have some popularity. Somebody picked it up because it got like 8,000 retweets in no time at all. That picked up some steam. But again, a lot of the people that are picking up on this post are like gravitating towards what it's sort of saying. It's saying the idea that this TV broadcast did exactly what a lot of people don't like them for. It's the old guard. It's the old people. TV's dying. Oh, they do this nasty stuff right here. It's what everybody kind of expects, and they're outraged by it. They don't like this thing, this conglomeration that used to get away with everything, something that's not socially acceptable anymore. And that's what it gets into later on with that whole meeting about them postponing the actual thing and making the apology post. It's really them kind of acknowledging, or at least Shun pressing upon him, and it seems like Uchibara knows this as well. Things have changed. You can't just do that anymore. People in TV broadcasts used to get away with that kind of stuff before because they had the power. You can't anymore. You don't have the power anymore. Things have changed. But yeah, I totally understand her frustrations here. And it's so interesting because it quickly turns into like when Shun's contacting her and everything, it's like, yeah, it's apologizing for the barrage of questions that were extremely inappropriate. It was harassment in the deepest regard. But it's interesting that Maya, that's not really what's bothering her so much. What's bothering her, what seems to come to the forefront of her mind is not necessarily that, because she's an adult and she seemingly is, not too bothered by it. What she's bothered by is the fact that they disrespected the thing that they brought her there for. You contacted me about doing cosplay for Tokyo Blade. That's the only reason I came here. I don't care about you guys. I came here because it was about Tokyo Blade. It was about cosplay. And I thought that you would respect that. And I came there and you guys immediately last second say, no, it's not Tokyo Blade. Still come on the show though. Bring something. I spent all night with my friend, brought them over here. They wasted their entire night for us to make something for your show. And you told me, never mind, last minute, get something else. That's the thing that bothered her the most. It was the disrespect. It's partly the whole harassment, but it ultimately is about disrespect and not respecting what we do. Again, what I was saying last episode, I literally said that last episode impression. The offense is literally thinking that they could just throw something together. And I love how they, bookend this episode with having him literally have to do this. And it takes him like a week. It takes him like a week of poring over it. They did that overnight in a night because they're talented. They're really good at it. But it still was an insane work they did to put that together. because they've done it for so long, because they're that skilled. It's not something anybody can do, but it's still a lot of work. That's what's bothering her. That's the interesting thing. That's what's bothering her. That disrespect. I don't want other people to fall victim to that same thing. That's why I made the post. I don't want other cosplayers to deal with what I had to deal with. That's what's bothering her. That's why she did it. Ugh, it's good stuff. It's such good stuff. And yeah, then we have the whole scene where Shun confronts the director about this whole thing. They're holding off on posting it, the actual episode. They're going to, post an apology. They're potentially going to post an apology. And yeah, he tells Shun, don't ask crazy chicks like that for interviews again. They'll just do this stuff for outrage and get people's attention. And then Shun steps up finally. And I thought the director was going to immediately turn around and say, you're fired. Get on to him for, calling back to him. But mad respect. I mean, again, scumbag. Mad respect for this director. He accepted it. He admitted it. He said the quiet thing out loud. When Shun says you can't do this anymore, it's not politically correct, you have to be more respectful to people. And again, that was to my point. It's fine if you actually had her approval first. It's fine to be raunchy. It's fine to push the boundaries as long as they're aware of it and they agree to it. Consenting adults, it's perfectly fine. Problem is that he was trying to get that shock value. He was trying to force something to happen. That was the problem. But yeah, this guy's like, why do you think that they had this on the web? Why do you think that they had a disgraced director on it? Because as people make things more unacceptable, we want to push the boundaries and make content that can't air on TV broadcast. Because yeah, for those that aren't aware, and this is something I have to bring up every single time there's something censored on anime, they go, oh my gosh, Crunchyroll's censoring this. And I keep having to tell people, it's not Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll rarely touched this stuff. It's in Japan. Japan is censoring this stuff. Japan is changing this stuff because Japan is changing their things. Japan is changing their actual regulations around TV broadcasts and stuff like that. And they're saying it right here in the show. Thank you, Akazaka, for bringing it to the Western's attention because I keep having to say it. Things are changing in TV broadcasts. They can't do this stuff anymore. They're having to do it on the web. And they want things to push the boundaries. They want to push those boundaries. Again, like I said, you have to make sure they know that first, though. But he says breaking taboos is how true art is made. Don't agree. I don't agree. Breaking taboos is great and everything like that, but you can't at the cost of somebody else. That's where the problem lies. You're doing this stuff at the cost of somebody else. You can do things when it doesn't cost somebody something, but you're doing something that's costing somebody something. You're costing Maya her privacy. You're costing Maya her comfort. All that stuff is the problem there. That's where he's not really seeing. But as it gets into, this is from the perspective of somebody who's washed up. He's at the end of his rope. He's backed into a corner. He's being told, do this risky stuff. And he's doing that in order to put food on the table. This is his last hope. And that's the sad part of this. Ushibara is a casualty, and yes, a willing participant at this point. He's a casualty of a failing industry. And he's clawing to survive. That's really what I'm getting from Ushibara's character. He's clawing to survive, and he's willing to drag down people and throw them in the mud so that he can cross that mud. And that's the sad reality. And that's where he has his mistake, is that he is making casualties in that process. He's a casualty and causing other casualties. A destroyed person destroying other people type of person. That's the sad reality. He doesn't mind being the problem. That's the sad thing. And again, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting him to actually be so honest in front of 3 people, honestly. He's AD, and then you have these 2 other individuals. He's telling everybody, I'm washed up. And I'm willing to do despicable things in order to not be completely done. Ugh. It sucks. All this entire thing sucks. Ugh. Jeez. And that's a sad reality because after he leaves, Shun goes back home. And where is he at in his mind? I'm an assistant director, and I just watched a washed-up director walk out the door. And I seen literally how destroyed he is, and how, this is the sad thing about everything. I mean, yes, there's directors for everything. It's not just television broadcast. And this guy is part of, streaming, which is booming. This is the sad reality, is that as an assistant director, like I mentioned in the previous episode, ADs, and he talks about it again here, and he talked about it quite a bit in the last episode, they do everything for these directors. Whatever the director doesn't want to do, and whatever the director doesn't want to pay somebody to do, that's what the assistant director does. They're gophers. Do everything, basically. Anything that I don't want to do. And as Mimi says when she comes in, that thing that I was talking about last episode is that the hope there is that you struggle and you grind through this and you're put to your limits, and the hope that one day, finally, they'll bring you up. That's what all these individuals do. They're all fighting and struggling to hopefully one day get that big role. I mean, it's in all industries, but it's definitely, especially in entertainment in Japan, is people that are at the very bottom struggling and not even being able to pay their bills in the hope that they get this role. Like in animation, you sit there and you grind these, pages for pennies, hoping one day you become the director. That's when you get the big bucks. That's the same thing here. And the sad reality is that Shun's seeing that he's stuck in this position as AD, and he's going to grind and be basically slave labor, hoping, and he's losing hope that he'll ever climb the ladder. And his sister's still there, still saying the same thing. One day, hopefully, it'll get better once you climb that ladder. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But very cool little statements that he made here, which I never really thought about, I don't think, is all these things that he has to please as an AD and all this struggles that he has to go through, and he's seeing the end of that, and he's bringing up the idea of like, why do you think that all the dramas have people jumping off cliffs? That's true. That's a constant thing. Why is it always cliffs? Because they can't OD, because it'll make the drug companies, the pharma companies that are sponsoring it mad. Why can't you do knives? It gets the people that make the utensils and whatnot for your kitchens upset. Why can't you have cars? Because it makes the car companies mad. They're perfectly fine with the trucks, apparently. The trucks seem to constantly have it. You're having to constantly please everybody, and you're never rising. That's his big problem that he's having. Ugh. But yeah, as he's kind of seeing himself at the end of this rope, suddenly Ruby shows up. Hey, I have a solution for your problems, tailored to undo everything that I potentially caused. That's when we get the big, deep show where Ruby is the host and fixes everything. We got a little bit of view of them discussing doing this beforehand. Interesting that Shun admitted that Ruby was the one that was behind it and that they kind of polished it up a bit there, but I was kind of interesting to admit that. And then, yes, we also see that Ruby had to go to Maya to convince her. And again, this scene hurts because it's true. At the same time, I hate that Ruby's doing this. I really hate that Ruby has become this puppeteer that's controlling everybody and forcing people into difficult situations for seemingly her own benefit. She's literally trying to push Maya back into an uncomfortable position. But I do agree with what Ruby's saying here. Yeah, they wronged us, and I hate that. But are you okay with this? Just by making that post, that's not going to fix anything. You made a post there, people are going to get upset for maybe a week, and then they'll all forget about it. That's the sad thing about social media is like, yeah, a tweak and a post can blow up, but within days, people forget it. They move on with their life. They find the next thing to be upset about, and nothing changes. That would be kind of what I would think the hope would be for, this TV show. Is, they'll blow over and eventually the people will forget about it, and they'll move on to the next thing. Don't worry about it. What Ruby is saying here is true in the idea, if you want change, you have to confront this. You have to bring it out in the open. Now, on their television station, I don't think that's necessarily the big fix. I wouldn't agree with Ruby here if she brought this to me. I would say, no, I'd go to that TV show, I'd go on that network, we would record it, and then they would splice it up to make themselves look good in the end. That would be my assumption as Maya's character, is that they could easily edit it and make me look stupid and make them look good, and that I accepted their apology, and they don't broadcast the things that they presented to me to make me feel bad for them and accept their apology. Like if I was a nasty broadcaster and I had the footage for this entire show, I would cut from the beginning where the guy says, we're sorry about what happened, and I'll cut to the end where she says, okay, I accept your apology. That's what I would do. But I do agree with Ruby. I think that people get a little bit too accepting of, I post this and people get outraged and they think that that's enough. It never changes things, unfortunately. Even if they were to go, we're sorry, we changed things, they put the post up there, they say, hey, we apologize to Maya and all the cosplayers out there, we won't do it again. And even have Ushibara comes up on there with a quote saying, I deeply apologize for my actions. 2 days later, it happens again. Like Ushibara himself said, we're going to constantly push the limits. We're going to constantly do taboo things because this is how he feels he has to survive, and they're accepting it, and they want taboo stuff. They want things that are risky. That's the unfortunate reality. But yeah, the TV show itself went pretty dang well. I mean, I wasn't really expecting them to be willing to show that much stuff, to air out that much laundry, having Ushibara admit his faults, him claiming that he did wrong and that he was understaffed, going to the actual anime licensing group and them talking about how we told them it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen because we have to get a hold of the creator, and the creator declines things. Oh, let's talk to the creator. Hey, Abiko, Kana. If I have Kana on the show, Kana hops over there. I think the first time the Aquas had to see her in a long time. Kana going up there to talk to Abiko. I like how Abiko's like, she's excited to see Kana. She's like, I'll see you anytime. Thanks for coming to see me. I'm so happy. She loves Kana. I mean, what Kana did with her character, like brought it to life. She's like just totally into Kana. It was so good. But yeah, Abiko kind of going through the whole process of licensing and how, yeah, they technically don't want anybody licensing this stuff, especially for her stuff, because they'll use it for inappropriate stuff. And she, as the creator, Abiko, does not want people to use her stuff for inappropriate stuff. I don't want my stuff to be body pillows. I don't want my stuff to be lewd figurines with big figures and everything like that. She wants stuff that respects her content. That's her big thing there. But again, it does get into the idea that these companies are investing a lot into her property and that she wants those companies to get that return investment. And so she does kind of want to allow them to license things out and to make that money back. So it does seem like there's kind of a mutual respect that at least she has with her publishing company and the production committee, that they at least get some sort of value out of supporting her content, which is kind of interesting. I think it's literally different for every single one. And I like that they kind of hint a little bit at that it's different for everybody. Some creators, all the rights given to the company, and the company decides everything. If they want to sell lewd pillows, they're going to do it. And the creator has no say. Then there's going to be situations like Abiko, where she herself has a lot of say in what's approved or not approved. That's why they're saying, wow, that show, Tokyo Blade, oh, good luck there, because Abiko has to approve everything, and it's very difficult. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with just being able to get in contact with her. We've seen how that turned out last season. It's different for every single IP. And how they handle their rights and what they allow and approve of is different for every single one of them. But the interesting thing here is that it seemed like they were kind of okay with the cosplay itself. That was the interesting thing. It didn't seem like there was that much restriction around cosplay as they originally were kind of saying. She said cosplay doesn't need her approval, just adult shoots. Now, there could be the problem there is that they're going to have, cosplayers that do adult content cosplaying or stuff, but they're at a convention. It's not like they're going to do anything lewd there. So they could have technically got the approval. That's the sad reality of everything. But yeah, anyways, it rounds up the interview with her ranting about dojins. Those dojin thugs drawing forced content to make bank. I don't see a penny of that. It's like that seemed like a random jab from Akasaka. Like, it feels like he just like randomly threw that in there just to take a jab at doujinshis. Like, yeah, taking my stuff and doing things that I don't want you to do with it. How dare you? A little bit of the creator coming through the actual content itself. It was pretty great. But anyways, to go on to question May about the whole inappropriate questions. And again, I think I agree with her right here. It's like, I technically am an adult. I would be perfectly fine talking about that kind of stuff in private. But the problem is that I didn't have respect, a mutual respect with who's asking me these questions. They just dropped it on her. And again, with that disrespect that was shown beforehand, it made it uncomfortable for her. That's the problem. That's the big problem here. It doesn't take it away from that action. It just kind of adds fuel to the fire. I wasn't comfortable at that point. I don't know who you are. But yeah, knowing all this information, Maya decides to accept it. Then Ruby says, are you really okay with that, though? Are you really okay with taking the high ground? I'm like, what are you doing? What is Ruby doing? What is she doing right now? What are we doing? Is she gonna force her not to accept the apology and just turn this into a big fiasco of what is Ruby doing right now? Okay, it's all been pre-planned. Okay, fine. The moment the stage opens up and she calls out for Hashibata, I'm like, okay, never mind. This has all been pre-set up here. And it makes sense. They're not gonna keep recording something that's not actually beneficial to them in the end. But yeah, Hashibata comes in with the princess outfit and everything. Apparently, he made a Princess Saya outfit. Cosplay just to apologize in. It's a kind of a cool in here because again it's showing this guy literally what he did wrong, and it's technically broadcasting to everybody that watches this what was wrong about this whole situation, because everybody watching this, every single person watching that broadcast will not know why this was so bad for Maya. It showed by having the director explain that I literally spent a week, all my time free, trying to make this thing, and it's got all these faults and everything like that. I finally acknowledge what I did was wrong. It proves to the viewer what was wrong, and it proves to Ushibara that you can't do this. This is something you cannot do. This is a lot of work put into this. That was one of my original issues I had from last episode, was just acknowledging how much work it takes to do this stuff. It takes forever. And you can't just throw that on somebody like that. It's disrespectful to the work they do. It is work. It is work. No matter if it's something that people see as a hobby, it is work. It is hard work. Yeah, I like the fact that she points out all these little mistakes that I used to make as well when I first started. It was cute. I liked the little ending there. It was nice. I will admit, it seemed a little bit too clean of an ending, and I think that's technically to the point of Ruby's, masterminding here. It has to be pretty clean because she's doing it so well. But there's a side of me that's like, I feel like this is a little played out a little bit too, like, Hollywood ending. Like, everybody's happy in the end. Oh, how sweet. The guy came out in a cosplay. I think my only real problem that I have is that Ushibara accepted this so easily. I mean, he said he was going to apologize, but, like, to go this far, it seemed like it was a little bit of a stretch there, unless somebody strong-armed him to correct it. Like, I think we needed a scene where Ushibara was, like, pushed to have to do this. Something like that. But yeah, then we wrap up the episode with Aqua confronting Ruby, and I kind of talked about that quite a bit at the very beginning here. It really does feel like Ruby, at least with Maya, orchestrated that. And yes, technically by pushing Minami to have to be involved, which hopefully, when that episode actually airs, she doesn't get destroyed by this. But I think the fact that Maya took the attention of the brunt of this whole situation, that's probably going to be our whole fiasco from this particular incident. I don't know if they would want to have, and Minami also, because of this broadcast, she had problems as well. I think they're probably going to move on to something else. But we'll see. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, my Yap Fest, my extremely long Yap Fest. Thank you guys for hanging around, listening to my Yap Fest about this. I do really appreciate you guys' support. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button. If you like this content and want to support the channel more, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.